Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, and why do some people become obsessed with power and others do not? Today is the question of our show on A Woman's Prerogative. We are on USA Global TV and Radio, and you can subscribe to YouTube on our YouTube channel, and on Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, our owner, and she is the producer of the show. You can subscribe to her channel also. She is the co-host of this show. I am Reverend Lydia Fougères. I am a Reverend in metaphysics. So let us welcome our wonderful co-host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
Hello, it's good to be here, Reverend. Thank you, and I love the topic as well.
The topic is sure to be interesting because so many people have trouble to deal with power. So many people have problems to deal with power. And we are talking about everyone's society. Everyone's society, there are people that are born to have power and some not. What do you think about this, Doctor?
I think there are some people who are born into wealth, born into positions of power, and maybe they want it, maybe they don't. There are also people who ultimately get into positions of power because people believe in them and support them, and it might not be something that they really want to do. And then there are people who are in positions of power who get really carried away with it. And I think that they're all different scenarios, but with our topic, power, the ultimate addiction, I think it can definitely be an addiction for some people.
You are right. You are so right, because the thing you are so right. I think that some people get carried away because they are emotionally unstable. They have deep traumas from when they were young and get carried away by power. Because when they were young, they did not have as much power. They were in a position where they had power, but they could not use their power properly because they were surrounded by power. And the fact is that they did not use it appropriately when it came to them. What do you think about that?
I think that's an option. By the way, we have no script, so neither one of us knows what the other one's going to say. I think that's definitely an option. I think another option can be that people can get very emotionally attached to an issue or to having something that they want to accomplish. And when other people don't necessarily feel the same way, there's definitely a break. It happens in families all the time. There could be someone in a family who really believes something should happen and the other family members don't. And so the person gets very passionate about it and then is almost authoritarian, and which is kind of a turnoff to other people. So that could be related to what you're saying, or it could also be that there's some deep connection to whatever the issue is or whatever it is that their platform, their project that they're trying to move forward.
I understand. When I was younger, there was a family in my town, in my hometown, which had a lot of power. They had a lot of power, but the father was raising them to understand power. That power came with a lot of responsibility, and he was making them work at cleaning apartments, being janitors, all kind of work to make them understand that things come at a price. It was amazing to see how this family functioned because of the understanding that they had for everyone. It was amazing, and it was enlightening also to see how the family was giving a good example of power, but at the same time, of such humility. I loved the way this family was functioning. What do you think of that?
I think that's a good story, a good example. I know growing up that I was told by my father that when you have a business, for example, you need to know and understand every aspect of that business. You can actually hire people to come in and run various aspects, but if you don't know what's going on, then you can't possibly know for certain that the business is being run effectively, because people can just come in and try to take advantage of you. And I think that's what happens with power, at least what I've seen in corporate, where I spent most of my career, is sometimes people were promoted from within the organization and they had no experience whatsoever in a leadership or management position. They were in sales, for example, and now they are overseeing the same people that they were the same level as in the organization. So now they're overseeing the salespeople when they were a salesperson. And sometimes that power goes to someone's head. And what I found was that it was actually more than what meets the eye, because in the situations that I'm thinking of, the people who got promoted, they actually were a nervous wreck and felt very insecure and had these inferiority complexes because they didn't know anything about the role, but yet it was expected, it was incumbent upon them, if they wanted to continue in the organization rising up, that they would take on these roles. So it looked like they were power hungry when they were actually very insecure because they didn't know what it was that they were supposed to do. They had an imposter syndrome.
Insecurity. This brings people to make many mistakes. Insecurity. They are not in their place. They are not doing the things they are supposed to do because they are very insecure. And they are too insecure actually to say they do not know what they are doing. That is a problem. When we are insecure, instead of seeking help, we should hire people that know what they are doing. We should not be hiring people that do not know what they are doing. What we should do when we are insecure, we should find people that are secure, safe, and better than us in the job. And then by doing that, we find someone that can make us safe in our power. That is the way I look at the situation. I do not know what you think about hiring someone that has a lot more knowledge than us to actually go and get the knowledge from them.
No, I believe in surrounding yourself with people who have more experience and more knowledge, definitely. What I found was, because I was very close to people who were in headhunting positions, hiring positions, it's not always easy to find people who are a good match. You might think, I don't know how things are today, but I'm talking back when I was in corporate, there weren't always people who had all the skill sets for the job. And so many times, because the existing employees understood the culture, they would be actively recruited to move up within the organization. And in some cases, the people were very happy with what they were doing. They were making money. They didn't have any leadership responsibility. But what they were told was, you've been here, you want to stay here, you want to move up, this is what you need to do. So I think it's kind of a catch-22 in some ways, that people who work in an organization may be highly encouraged to take positions they're not trained for. And then they get into those positions and it looks like they are all about the power. And meanwhile, they might even just be trying to save their job because they were really good in sales. And they were told, well, we don't need you in sales. We need you to move into this position. So there's a lot of scenarios, obviously, with this topic.
It did happen to me when I was a very young nurse. I started in a hospital. I had little knowledge of neurosurgery, but I was a bookworm. So when I started in neurosurgery, I was always reading about it. I was trying my best to be the best. And what happened is that after 8 months on that floor, they promoted me assistant head nurse at night. And that is a very difficult department. And I did not feel I could do it because I did not feel I was good enough. But my boss was convinced I could do it. So she just put me in charge of the ward. And 2 years later, I was still there and no mistakes and happy as can be. After that, I moved to ICU. But we have to try to start with. We might not feel we can do it, but we have to try at least.
One of the things I've also seen is in family businesses. And actually, there's a movie on Netflix right now. I'm not going to say what it's about, but the person who's running this big organization is a family member and didn't necessarily want to be in the role. But when you see this person walking through the organization, everyone's afraid of this person because the person's the CEO. And then as you get to know the CEO, you realize this person's very insecure and didn't even want the job, but is dressing and acting the part because that's what comes with, in this person's mind, being a CEO. When the person has to go to the boardroom table, a lot of the board members don't want the person there because it's family and they'd rather bring someone from the outside. So the person can't show any weakness or any vulnerability because they'll capitalize that and they'd like to just get rid of it. So in this example, you've got a person who's in power who doesn't necessarily want it, but it started as a family business. And so the father's still involved, and that's what he wanted, was his child to actually run the business, and the child really didn't want to do it and is doing it, and everyone's afraid of the person, and this person's actually really insecure and doesn't want to do it. So it's kind of interesting.
And he turns out to be a good CEO.
It's actually a she, and I didn't watch the end of it. So
okay. So it's a she, and I do not watch TV very much. Well, that's very interesting. I do understand that when it comes to power, there is some kind of caste. There are two castes, all kinds of castes. I do remember when in my hometown, my father was a boss for the company, and what I did not like about power, what I really did not like about power, was that there was a hotel for the bosses of the company and their children to go. They used to call it the manoir. And there was one for the workers. And I did not understand that because I went to school in a public school. So I did not understand why we had to separate at that point. I did not really understand, and I do not like the system about caste or with higher society, the whole thing. We are not always happy about that. And that is why I like so much nursing, because in nursing, there is no hierarchy. We all do the same thing. We all work for the same person. It is it is a group where we are always happy. The janitor gets along with the nurse, the assistant nurse with the doctor, whatever. We always get along. That is why I chose to be a nurse, so that everyone was at the same pace. What do you think about the working in a hospital, by example, compared to working in an office where there's a lot of hierarchy?
What was the last word? There's a lot of
Hierarchy, well, ranks.
hierarchy. We call it hierarchy. Well, I think there's
Hierarchy.
hierarchy in offices as well. There's hierarchies in hospitals. And for example, I just spoke with a doctor who was doing a procedure, and he's the head of the department. And I said, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And he said, absolutely. There's a lot of pressure on him because not only is he the head of the department, but he also is operating on people. And so he's got people's lives in his hands. So he's got the power, but he still has the responsibility, and it's a big weight. And I think regardless of whether you are in any scenario, when you have responsibility, people are depending on you. And obviously in a medical situation, it could be life or death, and we can see that. But people could be dying a very slow death working at an organization where they can't stand the management or the leadership or how they get treated. So I think in some cases in life, when it comes to medical, for example, we may not have choices. We may need physicians, we may need nurses, we may have tried holistic and we've got to go a different direction. Whereas in corporate, you may feel like you don't have any choices. You may feel like there are no other jobs for you, but there potentially could be. So I've always believed, and I learned this because I've punched the clock many times in my life, just as side jobs, getting paid by the hour, is people are people. And I feel like we should be treated as human beings, regardless of what hat we're wearing, what title we have, or what role we have, because we are all individuals. And at any moment, all that can be taken away from us.
That is what I think also, because I used to say, whenever you feel you're above someone, just imagine them in a blue gown in an emergency room. And that was my giveaway. So the people, actually, when they were thinking, I am above, I would say, imagine yourself in a blue gown in an emergency room. Are you above? And that would solve the problem. I would say it solves the problem a lot, because it is a situation where everyone is equal. When you are sick, everyone is equal. Everyone needs help when you are sick. And thank you for the word, by the way, because my French and my English, they get a little bit mixed up sometimes.
Oh, no, I think you were saying the same word. I just was pronouncing it differently. Hierarchy.
Well, I love you know what I like? I like that I learn all the time. And that is part of actually growing, part of growing. And part of also is like power. It has to do with power also. Power is growing also. So we can take power and use it to push, or we can have power and grow from it. That is
Very
two
true.
ways to take power. Two ways to take power. And I like to see the fact that you and we learn from whatever situation we encounter. That is what I like. And I like it so much about you because whatever you do, you always learn and you teach us.
Well, thank you. I enjoy learning. I feel like if we're not going to be learning, what are we spending our time doing? And what I find so much in social media, especially producing TV shows, hosting TV shows, there will be many times when people just put negative comments that have nothing to do with the show. They're just filled with hate and filled with anger. And what they don't realize is you can see their name. You can see the name that they're using on whatever platform. And so you've just put it out into the world that you are negative and filled with hate. And I don't make any comments. We don't have any today on this show, which is a really good thing. But I will just think to myself, you could take your power of expression, of your ability to communicate and do something else with it, do something positive. If you don't like what's going on in your own world, in your own company, in your family, in your country, do something that brings you joy instead of sitting around and making hateful political statements. And so that's what I feel like. I feel like we all have power. We have the power to decide. We have the power to choose and choose how we spend our time, with whom we spend our time. And you and I like to learn, which I think is terrific. And there are plenty of other people out there who like to learn. And for those who don't, what is the joy you are getting? How happy are you? To me, it's not even about how much money do you have? What does your bank account look like? It's on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And if you're not a 9 or 10, what can you do to find that happiness?
About those comments, I posted a feed where I was just stating that that we should learn from someone that overcame drug addiction and drinking and the whole thing. It had nothing to do with political statements or whatever. I am talking about a person. I was talking about a person that actually, who cares the political party? I do not care because I am a person that always has worked with people that stop drinking, stop smoking. So I do not care where that person came from. And I posted about that person that has had sobriety for 7 years. And this is a big, big thing. You know as well as me, it is a big, big thing. But instead of saying that person has done the right thing, people are extremely angry because they're taking this as a political statement. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with sobriety. This is so strange because everything turns out to be politics. We are talking, you and I, and we are talking about situations, and people come to conclusion politics, politics, politics. But it has nothing to do with politics because we deal with everyday people, everyday life, and everything does not turn out to be politics. We're talking about people because we know hundreds and thousands of people, you and I. So that is the problem with those comments that you wrote that we should not have here because people jump to the conclusion that we are taking parties, that we're siding with whatever party, but it has nothing to do. We're not even in the same country.
No, I agree with you. And it's interesting, not around politics, but another topic. I saw today that Madonna released a new music video, and I saw some people were putting posts about Madonna that she's too old to be dressed like that and too old to be to pop up in New York Times doing whatever she did. I think it was yesterday. And it's so interesting because I thought the people who are making reels and videos about her and then saying these things, I don't care about Madonna one way or another. I mean, I don't know her. I followed her music. I went to a couple of her concerts. But to me, I think to myself, a person who is in her late 60s, who can get up and dance and bring a message of positivity. What is wrong with that? Why do we have to critique this person? Because when we get to be 68, can we dress like that and stand in Times Square and sing and perform and have all those people who are happy to have us there? I don't think so. I don't know. But at the same point, why is it that we can't take whatever we see that doesn't align with us and just ignore it? Go on to something else. If you don't like Madonna and you didn't like the fact that she was in Times Square, you don't like her music video, go do something else. We had a TV show on recently, and somebody on YouTube put a comment, "I'm so bored. Did you know this is National Circumcision Day?" Like all these negative comments. And in my mind, I deleted them, but I saw who the person was. I don't know them. And I thought, you know what? I feel sorry for you. I really do. I feel sad for you that you could be anywhere right now, but you decided to watch this show and you decided to put 3 negative comments because you think you're in some kind of position of power to make a judgment. But actually, anyone reading those comments would have to just laugh and say, find something else to do, like find something that you enjoy. So that's why when we're talking about power, to me, I feel like to some people who are very unhappy in their lives, they can be anonymous, right? They're behind a keyboard and they can put these messages that are really hurtful, and it gives them some kind of sense of power. And I feel like use it for something constructive.
Some people do send me messages sometimes that are very, very mean without a picture, and they have such a name as Slowpo 986. So you can allow yourself to write anything under Slowpo 986 one dash without a picture. Because the thing is that it is the internet. It is the crazy world of the internet. But that person would not walk to me and say it right to my face.
Mm-mm.
Right? Absolutely not. But that person, like you say, lost their time. There is a person that I put a post on Instagram about our show. I put a post on Instagram about our show, and this person sends me a message to say they are bored by my show and the whole thing. So, and they don't want to comment on my show. So I just answered, well, if you did not want to comment on my show, why did you comment? You did not want to comment.
Because it's almost like a cry for help. It's like a cry for attention. And I feel like when people are doing this, they want to draw us in so that we have some kind of back and forth with them. And the bottom line is we're here in the public domain. You and I are public figures. We don't know who these people are. They're hiding behind a handle name on a social media platform. So what I say is if you think you're in power because you do that, to me, I see you as someone who is powerless, who is craving power and craving attention. And by doing what you're doing and putting comments in the public domain, by the way, they stay up there forever. I personally delete them because I don't want that negativity in my life, but there are probably many people who don't. And I don't know if you're going for a job interview or if you are having a reference check and people happen to go and check your accounts and see that you're a person filled with hate and negativity, it can come back to you. So you have the choice. You have power in choice. And by making a decision to be hateful and angry, that's a choice that probably will not serve you ultimately.
Exactly. And I also delete those messages because they're useless. They're absolutely useless. But one thing that I do is that I answer them because, as you say, it's a call for attention. I answer them so they know that I read them. And if ever they want to answer back, I can really help them if ever it is a call for help, because I'm a reverend after all. So it could be a call for help. So I cannot just ignore them, because I know you do not ignore them also. You are a person that you help a lot. So that is the thing. But we're talking about dopamine. When a person has a lot of power, and they really seek power, they cannot stop. Well, it has to do with dopamine. It so they are in a, a power trip. They are in a power trip. And we are talking about everyone in the world that cannot handle power. It is something that has to do with dopamine. It is not something that has to do with their family, whatever. It is biological. It is dopamine that they are seeking. It is a form of drug that they are seeking. So the power is the drug. That is what they are seeking. So when we actually understand the fact that this is a craving, just like someone is craving chocolate, we understand a lot more the person. They are under the influence of dopamine. They are power over. That is what happens to them. Or those that avoid power, they have too much dopamine. So those that lack dopamine will want a lot of power. Those that avoid power are the ones that have enough dopamine. What do you think about that?
I've never actually thought about it before. It's very interesting. I think it's a very good perspective to consider, because it might explain why someone's behaving the way that they're behaving. I do know in relationships, just from doing coaching for a long time, is you may have two people in a relationship and one person feels they're empowered because they earn the money, and they have no problem with letting the other person know, you wouldn't be anything if it weren't for me. You think you want to leave, go ahead. Where are you going to go? I'm the one who has the money. You signed an agreement, whatever the case may be. And then the other person just starts feeling worse and worse and worse about themselves. So it could be one person who needs dopamine, one person who has enough, and that's part of what brings them together. But ultimately, maybe it doesn't work out, or maybe they figure out how to talk to someone, a third party like yourself, and find ways to navigate it together.
I understand. I understand the way you see it, because it's abuse at the same time. There's the abuser, there's the abused, but the person that is abused will lack dopamine, will actually have problems and have a tendency to depression, because there is a problem with the dopamine in their brain. And the one that has the power trip is seeking dopamine. It's seeking this, they're getting their dopamine from the other one that they're crushing.
Mm-hmm.
That is the way they are getting their dopamine. They crush someone else. And the one that is crushed will go get the dopamine from the medication. That is why they say women have a tendency to depression. It is not because women have more depression. It is that there are more women that depend on their spouse and that are crushed. They will seek help because they need dopamine in a form of pill. So they will have a diagnosis of depression, while their husband, who has that power trip, that is seeking dopamine by crushing their spouse, they will not go to the doctor for a power trip. They will say they're fine.
Yes, yes, I've heard this and seen this many times. And it's obviously a very deep topic that we could spend considerable time on. And I'm really enjoying it. But I see it's my time to say goodbye so that you can bring the show to a close. Thank you again for having me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. So my name is Reverend Lydia Fougères. I am the author of 111 Reflection for Thy Earth Odyssey. You can have my books on Amazon. I do programs, I do counseling also, and it is always a pleasure to be with you and with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, who also has books for sale on Amazon. You can look at her books. She talks about the power of listening, has at least 25 books herself. She is the power of listening. She is the owner of the station and the one that produces our shows. So thank you for those that watched. And you can reach me at 514-582-6882, 514-582-6882. Namaste.
People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you, or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.